this conversation today feels like a culmination of so many of the threads that we've talked about in our conversations. This idea of living in balance, living in harmony, living in integration, and how we choose to shift our devotion in those different times. So, I invite you all as you're coming in. Welcome, everyone. I'm so grateful you're here. Christine and I are so grateful you're here, bringing your breath and your heart and your presence to our circle. This is a sacred table. This is a new type of table that welcomes each and every person who knocks at our door. And today we're gathering around the story of one of my favorite women on this planet who is living the weave. She's showing us what it looks like to hold many roles, and I hear an amen to that, with grace and honesty and devotion. Before we do that, we like to take a moment to center ourselves through some breath work. Although today I want to name the date we're gathering, September 11th. This is a day that still echoes in our collective memory, and most of us see stories in our feed of where people were on this day. So instead of doing that today, instead of going around the table and talking about that, I want to allow us to each take a moment to remember those who were lost, those who survived and what they carried with them for the surviving, and all those really who were ever changed, just forever changed by those events on 9/11 in 2001. I want us to hold in our hearts, I want us to honor the grief that people are still carrying, because we know grief never goes away. That loss never goes away. It's always with us. So I want to honor that. I want us to honor the resilience in all of the people who were directly or indirectly touched or impacted, and remember that deep thread of interconnectedness that really does rise up on days like today. We remember that feeling we all felt driving with the flags on our cars and feeling this linking of virtual arms with people that we'd never even met. And that I really do feel like there is room for that if we could simply get back to that sacred center. So let's all take a nice deep breath together collectively. Hold that honor and go ahead and release. As we soften into presence with one another, for those of you who are on camera, go ahead and look at each woman here. Look at each one of the photos here and send her some love, send her a smile. Come on camera if you're not. This is a way for us to connect virtually through our faces, through our eyes, looking at one another. There's something beautiful about being seen, even when we're talking virtually, right? So as you're doing that, I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale slowly through your mouth. We're leaving everything behind. We're leaving the angst and the stress and the anxiety, the to-do lists, the dings and bells and whistles of our phones and our computers. Okay, breathe in one more time, not just air. This is a sense of spaciousness when we fill our lungs with that spaciousness and that place inside us that's just ready to receive. And as you breathe out, let anything that's tight, anything that's making you feel rushed, that you can't fully be here, let that go. And let's do one more deep breath in together. This time, imagine you're breathing into that part of you, that space that needs the most tending. And exhale with softness. Let's feel ourselves land right there. Okay, let's get back to the heart of our gathering, a conversation with the fabulous Christine Carlo George. She is. Are you giggling? Are you
Yes.
giggling at yourself, Christine? Well, get ready because we're going to talk about you. Christine is a daughter, a mother, a wife, a friend, an entrepreneur, a cancer survivor and thriver on the other side. Christine is a woman who has learned to live not in the pressure of balance, but in the sacred rhythm of trust and alignment and care. And she shares the hot, messy middle of that journey. She doesn't keep it to herself. She opens up. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful that when we open our hearts, when we open that cloak that we keep so closed, that there is so much beauty, because balance is about letting each season of life meet us with grace. And as we begin, both Christine and I invite you to quietly ask yourselves, like, what feels alive in me right now? What feels alive in me right now? And what part of me is asking to be witnessed, held, or softened today? As we go through this conversation, again, what feels alive in my breath, in me right now, and what part of me is asking to be witnessed, held, or softened? We find in these thread talks that when we open ourselves up, when we share what we're going through, that it allows at least one other person, if not dozens, to step into their truth. So we're going to begin by weaving into Christine's story, and then we are going to open the circle for reflection and some resonance at the end from you. So if things bubble up for you, jot them down. So at the end, when we open it up, that you are ready to share what is calling you. So, Christine, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Wonderful. Anything on your heart that you want to say before we start?
Two things. One, thank you for acknowledging 9/11. I think it's really important that we just take a minute to reflect on the loss and also the courage and the bravery that took place that day. And I also want to acknowledge that a life was lost yesterday, regardless of the political motives or where you sit on the political spectrum. Um, I believe that um, we need to do something about gun reform in our country, because life, no one deserves to be victimized in that way. And then the last thing I just want to say is, first of all, thank you, but also Katie Lance. I love you. She's here and she tells us, and I know this about her because I've known her a long time. She's not on camera because she doesn't like to come on camera before 9 o'clock. I hope that's okay to let everybody know, Katie.
I love it. But we can see her in her mind's eye in her
Yes,
wildly, lovingly colorful office, likely with
yes,
either a Hello Kitty mug. That's my guess, is that there's a Hello Kitty mug involved. I
yes,
love it.
and yes, I hope she's got her coffee. I hope you have your coffee, Katie.
I'm sure
Um,
I'm sure she does. If not, let's all send Paul some vibes to bring some to her right now.
yes.
Wonderful, beautiful. And for those of you who weren't here at the top of the hour, our green room conversation bled into the top of the hour, which was about the violent assassination yesterday. And while we are not going to talk about that today, there will likely be either on the group forum in text form, or we may do a special session where we can talk about that, because we have a lot of women in our community who are boy moms, and they are feeling incredibly unsettled right now, and they need a place. And so be on the lookout for that. If that sounds like something you would be interested in, feel free to drop a comment in the chat as well, and we'll be sure to tag you when that happens. Okay, Christine, my darling, let's dig in. Let's start with something fun. When you think about your life right now in this season, what is one image or word that captures this season for you?
Um, it's freedom, liberation. Um, I I think we've all experienced this throughout our lifetime, but especially I think our generation, Deborah, the Gen Xers, um, and my 13-year-old son is going through it already. It's like we think we're supposed to be something for other people.
Mm,
Um, whether it's from a career standpoint or an expectation that you have to follow a certain path, or to dress a certain way, or to look a certain way, or present or show up a certain way. Certainly as women, we can have that whole conversation about needing to be quiet and pretty and all of that stuff. Um, but for the first time in my life, in the last few years, I've really started to feel like I don't give a shit. And that, I am who I am, goofy. Um, I don't know everything. I know some things. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. And I don't really care what people think about it. My hair is white now. I don't care. Um, and it's not something that happened overnight. And it's still work in progress. But letting go of these expectations of what you think other people, think you should show up as is so liberating, so
mm,
incredibly liberating.
mm. I love the word freedom, and I really love the word liberation. Uh, I really feel that. And so for those of you who are here with us live or listening to us in the replay, I encourage you to think about like is what's holding you back from feeling that freedom, right? Because I know we talk about, there's something magical that happens when you turn 50 and you lose all of the the you have no more fucks to give about the stuff that doesn't really matter to you, right? We do talk about about it being 50. And what if it could be sooner?
Right.
And what if the women who are here who are in their 20s and their 30s don't have to go through decades
Of all of this.
of
Yes.
all of
Can
it?
I tell you something that happened yesterday?
Please.
So, I have this running, thread with my college girlfriends, and one of them sent over an Instagram, or it was an Instagram reel, and it was this little um, boy. He was probably, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old with a yellow Simpsons shirt on, and he's like dancing like nobody's watching, right? And when I got it, and she was just, and it's like an uplifting thing. And when I got it at like, I don't know, 6:30 in the morning. And I'm in the kitchen with my son and I say, Gil, take my phone. I'm going to emulate that dance. And he videotaped me doing it. I put it to the exact same music. And then, God love Canva, I
My
put
God.
the boys' video first and set on the top what you think you look like when you're dancing, and then mine behind it, what you really look like. And I'm in my pajamas. Okay, I'm in my pajamas with my white hair all up, like morning. I think I barely even brushed my teeth. And let me just tell you, my husband laughed about it for the entire day. Like it was just, and I said, I should put this on Instagram. And he's like, go for it. Now I haven't done that, but it's just an example of like, why not do that? Like, why not dance in the kitchen? Like, nobody's watching. Like, nobody's, like, who cares? And I sent it to my girlfriends and, they got a kick out of it all, throughout the day. But um, that's just an example of like my old self would have stopped in the moment of that idea and said, "Oh God, don't do that. You're in your pajamas. You have no makeup on. Your white hair is up. Like, just don't do it." Don't have that evidence out there. But now I'm like, what the hell? Who gives a shit?
Don't have that evidence out there.
Right.
Well, and that's exactly it, right? Because why not have that evidence out there of joy and love
Right.
and why not have the evidence that you plant seeds with your husband and your son of being free and liberated, right? Why don't our brains go that direction? Why do they
Yeah.
go to about what we look like? And I actually was
Yeah.
having this conversation about my mom with my mom the other day about how it was probably about 15 years ago that I started this element in one of my teachings about how we introduce each other to when we're at a networking. So this was like totally business related because I felt like whenever people would introduce me or another woman, they'd be like, "Here's my beautiful friend." And it's like, well, that didn't tell me anything. Like, who is your friend? But I started paying attention as I was writing this course to how people introduce men versus women.
Yeah.
And it's almost always, and now you're all going to start recognizing it and everywhere you go, that when
Hmm.
women are introduced, it's always about what we look like. It's something about our physicality, whether it's you get the idea. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But how men, it's like about their accomplishments. And so I think it is fun for us to flip those scripts, even for ourselves, to say, I'm not going to fall in that anymore. When I introduce myself to people, when I introduce others to people, when I show up in my pajamas with my wild hair, without makeup, no brushed teeth, dancing so the world can dance along with me, like that to me is true liberation. And I really, if you decide to post, please tag me because I don't want to miss it, Christine.
Well, if you guys want to see it, just let me know. I'm happy to text it to you. I'm not sure I'm ready to put it on Instagram yet, but I'm
Well, you
happy
could
to
always
text
put
it to
it,
this group.
yeah, you could always put it on our secret group forum.
Yes, maybe I'll do that. Yeah.
Yes. Let that be your first place you try. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's shift gears a little bit because you just had an anniversary and
Yeah.
that you memorialized on
I
your
did.
body
I got my first little piece of ink. It's in the like really gross scabby stage. I don't know if you can see it.
a little bit.
Um, I have a little heart. I have a pink ribbon on my wrist because I just celebrated 5 years cancer free, which is super exciting. Yeah, so I'm feeling really good. I've got one more month on the lovely tamoxifen pill. And then hopefully my hot flashes will go away once I stop taking that awful pill. But it
Oh,
has done its job, and I have written a letter to it, which I'll be publishing the day that I finish my last pill. So yeah, so I'm super
I
excited.
I love that so much. Well, it, 5 years cancer free is a powerful threshold. So let's talk about how has healing changed how you nourish your body, your boundaries, your joy, right? We're flipping the conversation on cancer here. So let's talk about
Yeah.
that. What's changed for you?
I think it happened right before I turned 50. So, it happened in that moment where we're also sort of changing our mindsets, anyways. But I think for me, it made me realize that life is short. We're not always guaranteed the next day. And so it's helped me, you guys, many of you know me really well and know that I'm a big planner. It's helped me sort of let go of having to have a plan all the time, although, I still always have a plan, but it's allowed me to let go of structure, I think, to be more flexible in my thinking, to be more flexible in my spontaneity, um, and to let go of the small stuff. I can't emphasize that enough. And in my marriage, that has I mean, brought us as a couple to like all different kinds of levels and places. And as a mother, I mean, of a 13-year-old boy, at the time he was 7 or 8, um, I've realized like, so he doesn't want to brush his teeth. Let him not brush his teeth, So he leaves wrappers all over the house. Let him leave wrappers all over the house. Just remind him once at the end of the day to pick them up, like what's the big deal? The relationship and the love that we share with each other, and the experiences that we have are really more important than the structure and all the little shit, you know?
Mm.
So I think
Yeah.
that's what I've learned the most, which is to be more flexible and to not sweat the small stuff. And I really don't.
Yeah. Oh, I love your examples of with Gil, right? Like that it's he's not going to lose his teeth if he doesn't brush his teeth one night.
Yeah.
And I love the examples of the the candy wrappers or whatever. What does that look like with your hubs? Like what are you like releasing? Like, is it like the toothpaste being squished from the middle or like
Yeah, it's stuff like that, you know, it's the man leaves a half glass of water all over, like in every room, and I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, it's a running joke in our house, like, don't leave your water because mom or Christine's gonna pick it up and put it in the dishwasher, right? Sometimes I still do that, but you know, for the most part, I'm like, whatever. Also does not load the dishwasher correctly. And I'm like, whatever. He's cleaning
that's
up,
a let them. That's a let
right? Like
them,
he's
totally.
cleaning up. Yes, let him.
Yeah.
Um, you know, my husband is also very, as an engineer, like needs things to be a certain way himself. And that's also goes along with his thinking. Like he doesn't come to the conclusions he doesn't always dream the way I like to dream. He has to have like, a spreadsheet of the pros and the cons and all that stuff. Let him do that. When he's processed it in his mind,
Yeah.
he'll come back and be ready to talk about it, whatever it is. And before, it would drive me crazy and it would create arguments between us. But now, I just know like he needs to have his process, and when he's ready, he'll be ready to talk. And
Mm.
it's created like just such a much more give and take relationship, a greater understanding and acceptance between us for who we are, not trying to change each other. Um,
Do you find Gil leaves less wrappers when you don't harass him about the wrappers?
no,
Yeah, that I think that's the part where we all kind of have to get over,
yeah,
right? Is that we can bring our change to the table, but it doesn't guarantee that they're going to, echo it back to
change.
us.
But I'll
Yeah.
tell you what has happened with my relationship with Gil. And this also goes to the fact that, I'm not pushing with my business the way I was the first couple of years. I'm not pushing.
Mm.
I am I am doing the things on a consistent basis that I know keeps me out there and keeps me top of mind, and I'm allowing the business to come to me. And in doing that, I am much more present with Gil. I am much more in touch with what's going on in his life.
Mm.
And it's rather than what's happening in his life being part of the schedule, it's part of the day. I don't even know how to explain it. Like he comes home from school and he's always in a crabby mood, and he opens the door and I'm like, "Hi, bud." Like, "Hi." Like I'm happy to see him no matter what, right? And I don't know. Hopefully that's going to have some kind of effect on him when he's older, you know? And he's more open to talking to me. Um, he will actually stop for 5 minutes and have a conversation with me about what happened in his day. Now, that doesn't happen every day. Again, like this is all a work in progress, right? It's all a flow. It's all, some days are better than others, but every single day, working in that vein, to be present, to not push so hard, to um, to encourage, to be out there, to set the example, to be consistent in your actions. Um, it keeps the door open with your business, with your son, with your spouse, with your friends, with your family. It allows things to stay in flow, even when you hit road bumps, and that deepens the relationships, I think.
Mm. I love that. Well, you and I have quite often, talked about the art of letting go of the hustle and
Yeah.
the hurried lifestyle and trusting the ease in our work and in our lives. Let's talk about how you stay rooted in that trust because it's really easy to say, oh, yeah, I'm going to let go of the hustle. I'm not going to hustle anymore. And then we pick that hustle backpack back up. So
Yeah.
what's working for you right now that's helping you stay rooted in the trust of flow in the business?
Um, I just think it's self-awareness as a big part of it. It's noticing when you pick the backpack up. It's noticing when you feel like you have to hurry up and close the deal, and when that happens, then I have the tools to take a step back, to take a breath, to take a walk, whatever those coping mechanisms that you have. And for me, it's those things. I also have committed to working out every single day, whether it's getting on the Peloton bike or taking a long walk with the dog. I do some kind of movement every single day. And that just helps to get the wiggles out, It just helps to get the antsiness to always act or respond or react. It gets all that out, all that energy out so that I can sit in the calm.
Mm.
Um, but again, like I hate like I'm hearing myself and I'm like, okay, I hate when people say, "Oh, I breathe, I do yoga, I take a walk." Like this crap is hard. It doesn't come easily. It's a daily practice. And sometimes we mess up and sometimes it doesn't work, depending on what the fire of the day is. Yesterday, for example, I'm dealing with the sale of my parents' house in Florida. I don't know Florida real estate laws. They're different from here in Massachusetts. The real estate agent, quite honestly, is awful with a huge A. And my father in particular is extremely nervous man, extremely anxious. And I didn't have all the answers, but I needed stuff from him. And he's questioning me, and I don't have the answers. And he's continuing to amp up. And of course, this triggers me from being a child, right?
Yeah.
And I'm on the phone and I'm like not yelling at him, but being uber abrasive and short and mm, borderline mean. And it's just and I'm like at the end of the conversation, I'm like, okay, calm down. It's a trigger. You've had it for 55 years. Um, it comes because I don't know the answers and I don't like not knowing the answers. It comes because my father, when he gets amped up, he amps me up. And it's just an example of imperfection, and how even the best of intentions to find the coping, be self-aware and find the coping mechanisms and execute on them, sometimes it just doesn't work. And you have to be kind in your self-talk when that happens, and just say, okay, it happened. Like you're good and it's going to be okay. And you can always begin again,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And something that you said that strikes me, anybody who's been in my world for longer than a year or so has heard me talk about flipping the script. And I watched you, I listened to you and I watched your tone change. I watched your body language change when we were talking about movement and how you were like, "Oh God, I hate it when people talk about like I breathe, I do yoga, I stretch." And I actually feel like that's part of the problem is that the patriarchy, the capitalist system has made those things fluffy, has made those things optional or soft, when actually moving our bodies is powerful.
Oh, it
It's
completely
it's it's
is.
a powerful resistance to all of that crud that gets stuck in our bodies, right? And so is bathing. Whether if you're not a bath person, hot tubbing, right? Soaking our bodies, it shifts our vagus nerve. It calms our bodies. And we've never been taught in the recent generations how to self-soothe. We haven't been taught that. And so we're now, again, in our 50s in this circle, in our 60s and our 70s. We're saying to the women who are younger than us, like, let's all do this together. Don't wait till you're 50 to learn how
Mm-hmm.
to self-soothe.
Yeah.
Don't
Yep.
let's stop framing exercise as though it's how we get skinny. Let's frame movement as mental health, as a way that keeps us that beautiful version of ourselves that we love to show up in every room with her,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that's part of the work that we're here to do, right? Inside this circle is to say, like, what are those old narratives, those limiting beliefs that we even carry with us, right? How we introduce a woman based on her beauty, how we talk about her, how we talk about ourselves, how we talk about how we prioritize our time. I think there's such beautiful reminders, Christine, right? That
Yeah.
whenever we have
Yeah.
that, like, ooh, why, do- why don't I like it? Why am
Mm.
I being repulsed by the words coming out of my own mouth?
Well, I say that I'm not repulsed by them, but I say that because sometimes I think it's presented as, just do it. It's liberating. It's whatever. It's the magic potion,
Yeah.
right? And and the reality is that it doesn't always work, right? Like I guess what I'm trying to say is the imperfection of us as humans um also allows us to not always feel good about what's happening in our lives, to sometimes say why me, to lose our cool sometimes, even though we have these tools of movement and breathing and bathing and whatever they are. Yes, 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 they're super important. And sometimes you're just not ready for them.
Amen.
Sometimes you can't control what's happening in your brain. And so, with our son, God, he had temper tantrums until he was 7 years old, like bad ones. We were afraid he was he was going to become a mass murderer. There were times, and he would get physical. And I've told Deborah this before that we the way we handled it. And sorry, yay us. Like I used to get spanked. We would take him to his room, one of us, and we would close the door behind us, sit down in front of the door so that he couldn't exit the room, and just be. And when we would allow him to kick, scream, cry, throw his arms, as long as he wasn't hurting himself or us, allow him to have whatever emotions he was having and allow it to go on for as long as it needed to. And sometimes it would be a half an hour. And then when he was done, and this happened so many times, you guys, like I can't even count. We would say, okay, do you want to hug it out? And he would come over and sit in our lap, whoever was there, and just hug us and that was it. And as he got older and still had those feelings, he would say, I need to punch something or I need to hit something. And we got him a punching bag. Now, again, boys are different. We got him a punching bag and we would tell him, either go punch your punching bag or take a walk or do something to get the energy out. It's okay to feel what you're feeling. It's not okay to hurt somebody or to say mean things, right? It's okay to have the feeling. And so, yes, I'm so grateful that especially for a boy, like we are able to teach them these coping mechanisms, these ways to deal with really hard emotion. Um, and 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 yet it still happens, right? And so I think we just have to be patient and kind with ourselves and our kids and our people in our lives so that and I'm just understanding and empathetic that we all have those moments,
Mm,
you know?
mm. Yeah.
And
Amen.
yeah,
Man, I think that's so,
yeah,
I mean, we, especially for women. So first of all, I want to honor you sharing that parenting style. That's beautiful. I mean, I think that I remember when Dr. Liz was helping us get in touch with embodiment at the beginning of the summer and was talking about how so often as women, we are taught to sit still, right? Put your hands in your lap, sit still. Don't, shh, like don't move around, in other words, right? Don't dance or the wiggles. I love how you said that, like gets the wiggles out, right? And that most women that she works with can kind of pinpoint that time in their lives where they remember being told like sit still. Would you just sit still? And that our bodies innately know how to take care of themselves.
yep,
They know that they need to scream and shout and move and shake and whatever it is. And like if you look at tribes of any indigenous people, there's so much dance involved. Dance with joy, dance with
yep,
fire, dance
yep,
with war, like everything that you see, every moment is that is celebrated with a movement of the body, and I
yeah,
freaking love that so much.
yes,
And
I
if
do too.
like just recapturing that, like I'm imagining like this new backyard in the bungalow having a space where we can go out and dance it out and be like feet on the ground and just getting that energy and exchanging that energy back with the planet,
Yeah,
right? Like letting the
totally,
planet help heal us. And I think these are such powerful things. And our ancestors did this, Christine. Our ancestors did it.
completely.
And I mean, it's such a beautiful thing to be able to have this conversation. I feel like something's shifting for someone who's here live, and I'm so grateful for that. I want to talk about your ability to walk through multiple things and not have your hair on fire, at least not all the time. You've you've walked through your cancer
Uh,
journey that you've shared with us, and you have become an advocate for reminding women to go get mammograms. You started doing that in 2020 at the Woman Up conference when we were little tiny avatars. You did your beautiful talk there.
yep,
You're caring for your aging parents. You shared a story already today about that. You're a wife, you're a mother to a son in today's world. You are running a business, you are a friend. Like how are you holding your strength, that core of who you are without hardening?
uh, like I said, I exercise every single day. That's a huge, huge piece for me. Um, and I think another like a huge piece is relationships and community. Like this community, my friendships with I have a slew of female friends from all different stages of my life, from my friend, starting with my friend from preschool when I was 4 years old. We're still very close. I have a couple of high school friends. I have a slew of college girlfriends. I have a group of friends from my single days in my 30s when I was working. I have this network of amazing friends in my business community, you being one of them, Debra, Katie being a very, very dear, close friend. We've had many, many conversations. Joanne, Leslie, like there's so many of you. Megan, like I'm just looking at all of these photos and names of people who I've shared just really deep stuff with. And I think, being able to be vulnerable in your relationships, um, and of course my husband, like he's just my rock. I think being vulnerable in those relationships and just being wholeheartedly yourself for me, it allows me to move forward. It allows me to feel like I'm not a weirdo, or that I'm not alone in whatever it is I'm going through. Um, and so that's super, super, super important. And that, those two things, they really carry me. They really,
Mm.
really do. I mean, I don't know what I would do without my female friends. And it's funny, I remember my mom for all the things that drive me crazy about her, and I love her because she was kind of a pioneer for her generation. She completely reinvented herself somewhere in her 40s, went back to school, got a business degree, and worked in nonprofit for the next like 25 years. And she was also heavily involved in her community. Um, and I totally just, oh no, here's my train of thought. I lost my train of thought. I got it back. So she had, in that sort of second life that she created, she had a number of male friends who were either mentors or colleagues. Of course, in the 80s, like it was extremely male oriented in business, and she was often by her mother and the older women in her family were she told her, like, you should not be out with another man who's not your husband. Like she would have lunch with these colleagues or whatever. And I remember her saying to me, I was like, 17, 18 years old, like, you need other people in your life beside your spouse. Your spouse isn't your everything. Your spouse is your partner in life, is your, rock or your best friend. And you need women in your life. It's okay to have other men who are friends, or colleagues in your life. She taught me that, you know, when I was, a teenager. And I think that's very forward thinking for a woman of her generation. And it's something that I always have remembered. Just because you have another male relationship doesn't mean you have a emotional or sexual relationship with them. You can have men in your life who are not your husband or your brother.
Amen. Amen. You know what keeps the word that keeps popping into my head as you're saying this, Christine, is the word witness. I think our friends, our circle, are sacred witnesses to our lives.
Hmm.
And the ones that we carry forward are the ones who quietly hold that space as we grow, as we falter, as we rise, as we become, right? And that at least for me, and I'm assuming for you, they remember some of the things, some of the chapters of my life I totally forgot.
Or
And
I'd rather not remember.
yeah, some of those too. And there's a magic to them reflecting back our own light to us when we can't see it. The I love saying that, like, they sing my song to me when I can't remember it.
Yeah.
And that there is such we're talking about honoring that tapestry of who we're becoming woven together with these sacred witnesses.
Yeah.
And I think it was Susan Sarandon. I don't know if somebody's probably seen this movie. I feel like it was like something around dancing. Shall we dance or should we dance or something like that, where she talked about marriage in the same way that we need a witness to our lives and that
Yeah.
there's like billions of people on the planet and so we seek for our life to have meaning. And when we marry someone, when we connect our lives with them, we're promising to care about all the things, the good, the bad, the ugly, the terrible, the mundane, all that crazy stuff. And I loved that quote. I don't remember loving the movie. I just remember that quote. And feel like it's going to probably show up in my Instagram reels now that I'm saying it.
Yeah.
But I love this idea of reframing our relationships as beautiful expressions of witnessing one
Yeah.
another.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. And they carry us. I think they carry us. That's why it's so important, I think, to let down the armor, and let people into your lives, because the right ones will stick around and they can be incredibly helpful in helping getting you through the ups and downs. And also they can be, have fun and joyful too, um, to share the good
Yes.
times.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I recently reached out to my best girlfriend from high school I haven't seen for a few years, and she lives like less than an hour from the bungalow that we bought. And I was like, "You are not going to believe what's happening." And
Yeah.
she was like,
Yeah.
and so, like her daughter's moving to London, so she's doing some travel, and we're like, "Okay, well, October will be our month." And it's
Yes.
like just knowing that I'm going to be in the presence of a woman who, oh my gosh, my mom is on this call, but that's okay because I'm a grown up now,
Yeah.
right? Right, mom? I mean, we got into some serious shenanigans back then, and I
Yeah.
can't wait to relive them.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I can't wait to talk about you know, breaking into the condo pools,
That's
soaking in the hot
awesome.
tubs in our matching underwear, like all the crazy
Oh
stuff we used to
my
do when we were like 16, 17 years old. And oh, that's my mom laughing and sending a heart. But there is like this, they're like a touchstone for
God. Yep.
us. And I feel that when we're talking about friendships, even there's something that lightens up in us. And so
Completely.
I'm hoping that those of you who are here today are thinking about that. Like, who can you reach out to? What sister from
Yeah.
another mister from your past are you thinking, man, I haven't talked to her in a while. I'm going to reach out to her.
Well, Leslie just said, she just got spent time with her college roommates. They witnessed a lot. They did, and they knew you when you were a girl, they knew you when you were becoming, and that there's something so sacred and special about that, there really
Yeah.
is.
Well, and they know you before everything happened too.
Yes. Yes.
Like there is that, like all of the things, the crazy the adult relationships, the divorces, the children, like they know this like innocent version of you too. It's so beautiful.
Yes.
I love that. I'm so grateful for you, Christine, for letting us
Oh, me
witness
too.
witness your living
Aw.
tapestry. I would love to get your final words, but first let's do a open the space now for others
Yes.
in the circle. And so who wants to come on and share like a what's on your heart? What did you hear today? What's touched you? What's calling you to speak out? Because I this has been such a tender, beautiful conversation.
I'll say something.
Oh, Michelle, thank you. Wonderful.
Hi,
Good morning.
good morning. I wrote down several things. I won't take up the rest of our 10 minutes by all, but like this is a great conversation. So thank you for sharing. But one of the things you said is that you can always begin again when you were talking about, the conversation with your dad. And I think that as women, or maybe just speaking for myself, is I replay things in my mind so much, and I'm like, oh, I wish I would have done this differently. I could have done this better, and I've stopped doing that, and I say, some gratitude for that experience, and if I need to go apologize or bring it up to a child or a friend, then I will. But it's all a process of forgiving ourselves,
Yes.
and it's a daily process of doing so. I was
Totally.
talking to my daughter the other day, and she broke up with her boyfriend, and she's just
Oh.
devastated. They've been dating for a year and a half, and it's we're happy about it, but she's not, just for other reasons. But um, we were talking about his family of origin, and he just doesn't know what he doesn't know, right? I mean, how he grew up and how it ripples out into his relationships is not who it's not how she wants to live be in a relationship. And so I brought up something. I said, remember a big turning point for me with my relationship with my kids. I grew up in a very verbally abusive and physically abusive home. And I saw myself kind of going not down the physical abuse, but the verbal abuse path almost. And I brought up a situation where I specifically remembered how I was treating her. And she was like 6 years old. It's like she couldn't do anything right in this moment. And she doesn't remember it, but I remembered it. And I apologized for it. And there was just so much like, I don't know. freedom in that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just apologizing for things that maybe other people don't even remember you doing, but if it's on your
Mm,
heart, then to forgive
Yeah.
yourself, and that's a way to forgive yourself, you know?
mm,
Yes. Yes,
that's beautiful.
100%. I think it's a great lesson for kids to like to say I'm sorry when you need to um in the moment, or shortly after. I think if you realize it, then they realize that you are human and that it shows them accountability, which I think
Mm,
Mm,
is important.
for sure. So,
beautiful. Oh, thank you for that share, Michelle. Beautiful. Connie, I see your hand is up, darling.
Well, first of all, I wanted to say to Christine, you must have been in my kitchen.
Were you saying the same things, Connie?
Oh, and you know what's really, it's having had several male relationships at this point in my life and having a new one who is extremely gentle and extremely giving and caring, and not really having had that before. When you were talking about just letting it go, and I have a tendency to react rather than pause and respond. I'm so used to defending myself that I
Hmm.
jump in. And he's reminding me, you didn't say that very nicely anymore this time, you know,
Yeah.
and he's asking me to say it nicer.
Yeah.
And what you were talking about really struck my heart because
Mm.
it's a hard lesson. I mean, it's a hard lesson for you to learn it at your age is amazing to be able to
Oh,
say, okay, I'm gonna let it go. I don't care about if the dishwasher is
I know. I know.
is I just go and do it after he does it. I just fix it.
Fix it.
Anyway,
I love that.
I
I
just
love
I
that.
just wanted to say I really relate to
Oh,
everything you said today
thank you.
and thank you for sharing because it really struck my heart.
Thank
Mm,
you.
so beautiful. Thank you, Connie. And thanks for the giggle. I love that. Dr. Liz, is that you? I see your hand is raised. I think you might be on your phone. If you're trying to talk, you're muted. Liz, are you there? Maybe you raised your hand accidentally. If that is you, feel free to hop in if and when you'd like. Does anyone else have something they want to share?
I
Sissy, you
do.
popped on camera. Okay, hi,
I
darling.
did.
Oh,
Hi, good morning. Oh, Liz is there. Let's let Liz talk.
okay, Liz, then Lori. We can see you now, darling. Oh, we can't hear you yet, Liz.
Oh my gosh, thank
There
you.
you go.
I'm like, working on a phone is just so different than
Tough.
a computer. I'm
Yes.
like learning all over again. I just wanted to say, Christine, thank you so much for this. I was driving, I was listening in, and it was great. I had my kids in the car, and it was so great. Like, I have a son that's 13, and I was like going like this to my son,
Oh
like,
my
see,
God.
see, and
Wow.
it was just really amazing. But what is really staying with me is I'm just like this whole thing where we get to the point, like you're just amplifying it and reinforcing it, that we get to this point where we just are like beyond spending our time looking for approval, and we are about looking for our own approval. Like
Hmm.
you're talking about your silver hair, you're talking about your crazy dancing, and it's like this
Yeah.
thing where we start to just give less and less F's. And
Yes.
right. And then you were talking about I felt like, I know that you've probably seen this movement of we do not care club.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, right. And so like when you were talking, I was just feeling all those threads, and just
Yes.
like this whole thing of midlife is extraordinary.
It is.
And what you're talking about, how it's just like we're part of the slow movement now. We're part of the allowing it to come to us now. Like all of it is
Yes.
just like I want to create a movement with you about this. It's just like let's freaking do it. Like let's
Yes.
just keep telling women like it's okay. Like you're talking about doing the things that you need to do in your business, like you're just doing it and you're not tripping out about it. You're just like so aligned. So anyways, the whole thing was inspiring, and I'll stop here, but just thank
I
you.
love it. Thank you so much.
I love
Yeah,
that. Thank you. And I love that that your 13-year-old was getting called out.
Me too.
That's so fun.
it was so
You,
fun.
you know, the conversation around hustle is one that we do love, the anti-hustle, I should say. And I think that there is so much magic there, sisters. There's so much magic there, simply releasing that, the strive for things, right? Like really just allowing things to flow to us. I'm so grateful for this space to do that. Sissy, Lori, want to come back up and share?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. These lovely faces. All of the energy that's coming from everyone is just filling my cup. Thank you for starting my day this way. This conversation is very important to me. A lot of things that were already said, I don't need to repeat. The things I want to add are, in my experience, I have found that when I am making an amends to someone, apologizing for something maybe I responded too quickly and then thought about it for a moment and needed a minute to process, I can come back and say, hey, if faced with that same situation again, here's how I would respond differently. The added piece to that I've found is then asking them for their feedback if there's
Oh,
anything that I missed. Because it's not always what I know that I've said or done. There might be something hiding behind there. And this isn't some profound thing I've decided on my own. I've noticed it. My children are much older. My oldest is turning 35 next. I don't know how that's possible. But when the conversations come up with her, sometimes I need to pause and say, where can I show up for you? I think I'm
mhm.
showing up for you, but what would it look like to you if I was showing up for you? And where are the places
Mm,
in our relationship that I can do better? And not in any way to make up for what was done, but it's more of a not being assumptive. So I guess that's what I'm getting at is
yes.
when we are apologizing for misspeaking or having, kind of that brash energy towards someone when we're just exhausted, to be able to pause and say,
Mhm.
I'd really like to show up for you in the way that you will feel it. Tell me what that looks like.
Mm. It's beautiful. Well, and recognizing that we can't control how somebody's going to receive that either.
Yeah.
That, the grief that we carry from individual interactions that impact us, whatever that is, whether it's joyfully or traumatically, our actions always have consequences, and we sometimes they're so hidden and so deep that we can't see them, and they bubble up at the most random times. And I love the idea, Lori, of apologizing for what you, asking for grace for what you recognized, and then also following that up with, is there anything else we need to discuss? Is there some other way? That's such beautiful advice. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love that. Okay, we're at the top of the hour, so let's get the final words from Christine and wrap ourselves up, my darlings. What's on your heart, Christine? After everything you shared, is there something that we didn't cover, or something that is just burning to come out?
I mean, I think I've said it all. I feel like I vomited on you guys, but I so appreciate all of you being here and being vulnerable with me and allowing me to feel safe to be vulnerable with you guys. And I just would ask that if we could all commit to just putting ourselves out there in the most open way, open-hearted way, I think the world would be a better place. I really do. I really, if we could just lead with love and compassion versus fear, I think things would go a long way.
Beautiful. Thank you, Christine. I'm so grateful for you. I'm grateful for your honesty, for the light you shared with us today, and the dark, that hot, messy middle, and your devotion to living this beautifully harmonious life. It's such a gift to witness your story in motion. I love you.
I
That's
love you too. Thank you.
and yeah, and thank you to each of you who shared, listened, offered your presence today. These circles that we create every week are, yes, they're for our stories, and they're also about practicing the sacred act of showing up for ourselves, showing up for others, being that space where others can come and share, like Christine did today. If the conversation stirred something in you, if there's a role that maybe you're reimagining, if there's a rhythm you want to reclaim or start, if there's a truth just rising inside of you, we invite you to bring it in to the community. We are here to be that vessel, that space that can help you walk through that. And, right now we've talked about the fact that we are building the exchange circle. Those of you who are members know what that is. If you're not a member, the recap will share that information. But we are stepping into the next season of the collective where we are weaving our lives together more. And as Christine was here today sharing about her story, she also has an incredible business called Post and Beam Creative. And this beautiful business that she's created helps you tell your story too, helps you show up on every platform you are, whether it's in person or online, with the truest version of you so that others can find you. And I would love for those of you who are feeling it to take a look at her website, reach out to her, reach out to me if you want a warm introduction. I'm happy to do that. I know a lot of you do that, but know that the exchange circle is coming, and it is a space that where we are going to move from witness to wisdom, if you will. We're going to start sharing and listening and lifting each other up through shared insights. So those of you who have businesses, join the exchange circle. Those of you who are seeking mentorship, man, this is going to be the place to do that. So look for the invitations, look for the emails about that. We want your voice to be part of that circle for sure. And if you're not ready to share your voice, there's going to be plenty of laps to sit in and get lots of delicious wisdom as we are hugging it out in our own journeys together. So may Christine's story remind us that we are and have never been meant to hold it all alone, and that there is strength in our softness and power in being seen. Let's take one final collective breath together, sisters. And it is in sacred sisterhood that we close out our circle today. I'll see you all next week and on the forum group in between. Thank you. Love you all. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.